Hey, thanks for coming here. Really appreciate the turnout here. And Admiral Hunter, thanks for being here as well. I have the honor and privilege here of introducing our panel for today, and I'm excited to do that. And I hope that we seize the opportunity here to, number one, listen to what they have to say, but also ask some questions. And I think Major Tyson will moderate this or perhaps fuel some discussion here. But it's a great panel. And I had to actually have some notes here because it's such an impressive panel on who they are and what they've done. The issue of suicide and how we deal with that issue, how we strive to create an environment where people feel comfortable in a moment of crisis or just feeling overwhelmed or have other issues, that they can reach out to someone and talk to that person and they feel comfortable doing that, and that the person that they're talking to is armed with some information to point them in the right direction to get some assistance that they need. And I encourage you to do that. Just the variety of ways and tools that we can use to help our fellow service members and DA civilians that may need to talk to someone and get some help and feeling comfortable in doing that. So I want to thank all of our panel members for being here, and I hope we have a great dialogue here and that we feel safe interacting with the panel, and that what we say in here is a safe environment to say that.
Some of our missions in Afghanistan, of course, was route clearance. During the time in Afghanistan, I present and I've used some events that actually impact my life. As we speak, I'm a post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm a PTSD soldier. I'm a wounded veteran. I was in Fort Belvoir for almost a year. Besides that, I'm a PTSD. I also have a panic disorders and anxiety disorders. When I was in Afghanistan, I received a phone call from the Red Cross that my wife was in the hospital with a brain surgery. She suffered from a condition that led her to have the surgery, and unfortunately, on my way home, she ended up having a stroke, and she can't move at all. So I have to go from Afghanistan straight to the hospital. I didn't have the chance to out process and go to a normal out process for the doctors and everybody to check me, make sure that I'm okay. I took the risk and I changed my mission. I went for a comeback mission to family mission, which is important. During that time, a lot of things happened in my family. Being in the hospital for 3 months, they moved her from Alexandria to Baltimore, to Johns Hopkins. Certain things that happened in there that I didn't have the chance and the financial strength to stay in a hotel, so I just taken up on myself to stay in my car for 5 days and sleep in my car. I did it overseas, I can do it for the family, that's what I said. So during that time, she got transferred to Alexandria again, and all this time, I had to face civilian life. I had to go back to work because somebody had to pay the bills, and even though I had to just tough it up and come to work and as well go in the hospital in the afternoons, and my stepdaughter used to help me with that. I went through physical, and all this event changed completely the spectrum of my career, of my life, and I was taking one day at a time. I thought that how more strong you sometimes feel, it's a lot of weight. It's a lot of weight that you feel on your shoulder. One night, I went back to the National Guard, my M-Days missions, and I had to report. It was a Saturday. I had to report for drill. That Friday night, I can't sleep. Since I was having my wife in the hospital, I lost the the feeling to sleep. What is about sleep 8 hours, 5 hours at least. I was only sleeping 3 hours a day, and all these problems and comeback problems and issues that go into my head, it was rough. But I was trying to tough it up because she needed me. At that particular moment, I was not realizing how much damage I was creating to myself because the loved one was more important for me than myself. One night, that Friday, before I went to drill, can't sleep. Finally, I managed to sleep. I got my medication and took my medication. I finally trying to sleep. A nightmare came up, wake me up. I went to my other room, and I said, "This is enough. That's it for me. You know, I can't take this no more." And yes, you know, I almost take my life. Thank God that I just realized that what I was doing was not normal. And that particular, at that moment, and it was not me. It was not me. So that morning when I showed on drill, I saw my first sergeant. Back then was the first sergeant, Frank Mitchell, in Fredericksburg. And I told my first sergeant, "Top, I need to talk to you." I said, "Of course, I know we're going to have formation in about 5 minutes, but I need to talk to you." Almost take my life last night. No words. He put me on his car, take me to Mary Washington Hospital. Since that day, my life completely changed. The message that I'm trying to bring in here is that no matter how hard is your life, no matter how many problems you got in your life, you gotta speak up. You just have to say what your problems are. Find that someone that you actually trust, you know, and express yourself. Release it, because what I did, I was holding everything into my chest, thinking that I can handle it. I can handle it on my own. You know, I promised to my family that I'm going to be strong to them. And that's what I was trying to do. But actually, I was just hurting myself. And he took me to the hospital. The professional sees me. I explained everything to them, what I went through, what I was going through with my family. And I started going through the process. They contacted the military. They put me on the Water Transition Unit in Fort Belvoir. And I'm here today. For that purpose, it took me one word to speak up, just to say what was my problem, what I was going through. Here I am. They moved me from my job as a federal police officer to what I do today. I work in the facilities office for Mr. Mike Tressler. And today I'm the facility operations specialist. When I thought at that particular moment that life was not, I was losing everything, and I felt in that particular moment that I was losing everything that I worked for my whole entire life, I was wrong, because everything that I got on my head was all negative. But with the support of Mr. Trexler, with the support of the chaplain, and Ms. Cadine, all the guys, you know, my team and the facilities office is great. They always support me. They always talk to me. They always approach me. And I'm here because of that. Because I found that door, you know. When I saw the door, it was far away from me. And for some reason, I can reach it. But I managed, and I fought, and I was right there fighting. With everything was going through my head, everything was going through my everyday life to reach that door. And thank them, thank that first sergeant that probably by now he's retired. Here I am today. I'm alive because of them. Because they helped me. And I wanted to send a message that if I can do it, that I went through so much in my life, you can do it too. You can do it too.
When I lost my husband, Ian, he was an Army captain. I lost him 2.5 years ago this month to suicide. And we can talk more about it, but that altered my path in a really big way. And I came across TAPS, which is the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors, which is where I work, and also Doug, and really recovered my life and put it on a new path. And I'm dedicated to helping service members, preventing suicide, and caring for families after a suicide. At TAPS, my job is suicide survivor communications, so I do a lot of this, talking. And also, we have a saying that postvention is prevention, so helping people share their stories, helping survivors, put words around what happened and share it in a productive and helpful way. I train them to do that, and then, they get to go out and feel accomplished, and so that the deaths weren't in vain. So, sort of suddenly in 2010, Ian was told that he was going to deploy in 2011 at the beginning of the year to Camp Speicher in Iraq, and with very little notice, he took off for Iraq, and we did the normal Skype every day, talk every day, tons of packages, and both of us said at the end of it that our marriage only got stronger through that time, that we felt, like we had just, absence makes the heart go fonder, but also a lot of really solid work together, reading books and studying. And so Ian returned on Christmas Eve of 2011, which was a wonderful gift. And, it seemed like we just kind of got right back into it. I was still teaching school and going to graduate school at night, so we were very busy, but it seemed that life was progressing on a normal pattern. So that was December, and in about the middle of February, around Valentine's Day, I sort of noticed that he was a little bit off, a little bit different. We spent a lot of time together. We don't have children, so it was just us, and I could really feel like sort of a disconnect. So we started talking about it, and he later told me that he didn't think he had slept in about 2 weeks. Like, he would get up in the middle of the night, and I sleep like a rock, so I never really noticed it. So we talked about it. We talked about, working out more, exhausting ourselves so we could sleep better, changing eating habits, whatever. And that didn't really work. So the middle of March, we had gone on a little spring break vacation and talked about, he said, I think I need to see a psychiatrist. I haven't slept. I feel anxious all the time. I've never had this before. He was such a steady man. He had never had any kind of mental struggles. And so we made a plan, and through the series of 3 days, he went to a bunch of different clinics and doctors and got prescribed medicine, and nothing seemed to really fit. He was definitely trying to pull himself out of it, and I was trying everything I knew how to do as a counselor. Unfortunately, when things are right here, it's really hard to see, a pattern or a way around something. The Wednesday of that week, I was in graduate school that evening after teaching school, and I talked to him. We had a plan. He was going to play golf the next day. Everything was, we were struggling, but we were making it, he said he's going to pull himself up by his bootstraps and keep going. And after work or grad school that night, I came home, and I found that he had taken his life in our home, and completely unexpected. I was 24 when that happened, and he was 26 years old at the time he died. I think saying it completely devastated me is about the biggest disservice I can do to that. It was earth-shattering, and it felt like my world crashed and fell apart. He was my future, my present, my whole life. And recovering from that, and the trauma that I experienced in discovering his body and everything surrounding that was something I thought that I would never recover from. I thought that I would die of a broken heart. And when I sort of decided I wasn't going to die of a broken heart, I was for sure that I would kill myself, because there's no way I could possibly survive this. And that was my, I was like, I'll just make it to this day, and then I'll try one more day. And so it slowly evolved into where you see a little clearer, and I can't do this to my family. I can't add another tragedy to this tragedy. And so I guess maybe a month or 3 after he died, I decided that I was either going to have to die, or I was going to have to keep going. And that was the option I chose, and have since then tried every single day to find something that's worth living for, like we talked about here the other day, and have found a lot of meaning and purpose in helping other people who are struggling with suicidal ideations or who have lost someone to that, helping them find a reason to grab on and keep going. I don't know what you want. When I meet another suicide widow or a family who's lost someone to suicide, you no longer feel like, a zebra in a sea of horses. You feel like a human being again. And like, okay, I'm not insane, I'm not a terrible person. This happened, and how do we get going? How do we move forward? We're not going to get over it, but how do we keep going?
I want to send this message because I'm a leader. I feel that I've been a leader since I was born. And when I say the word leaders, it's not rank structure. I'm talking about you're a leader in your house. You have family, you have kids. You're the leader in that particular case, So please take a minute of your time, to talk to those around you, to your loved one, to your employees. It takes 1 hour a month, at least 1 hour a month. Talk to them, get to know them. I will give you a clear sample. Last week, my team leader, Cindy Cadine, she decided to have a team meeting in the command dining room. We went over there. We had some new employees in our office that we don't know about their life. We don't know where they're from, what division or place they came from. And we took that time to get to know each other. And when I realized, and I'm using this as an example, when I realized that what happened to me right there in that table was that I forgot about work. It was about me, the people around me, to install a relationship, a friendship, And that's what we need. That's exactly what we need. And especially when we're talking about suicide prevention, that's what actually we need. We need to have that moment to talk to them, get to know them, not just as an employee, but also as a human being. Get to know them. Because in that case, you will realize what that person, down the road, you would realize when that person changed, is it has some different pattern that make that person change. That is a sign for me as a person. For me, that will be a sign that something has happened to that person. I can approach them. Now they feel more willing to open themselves to me because we have that communication factor. But if we don't have that, we're going to lose them. We're going to lose that relationship. So the message that I'm trying to send is get to know whoever works for you, whoever work around you, and that can, believe me, that can save people's life.
And if you look at yourself and really evaluate it, you have had weak moments too. Everyone has. Maybe we aren't comfortable talking about it, but we've all had them. And so just to take that person and just see them as a real person and a real human, and that they're really struggling, and to take some action on that pretty quickly. And for a person, soldier or not, who's struggling, I think my life can be a really good testament to being in the darkest place. I don't know that there's much darker place than it was pretty dark. And coming out of it. And the reason that I'm out of it is that I got care really early. The next day I had a counselor come to my home. I didn't have them, but they were sent to me. And from that day on, and still today, I have professional care. And it's really proof that care works, counseling works, whatever format you do, it can change however you seek it. But the key is not to wait until you're at the edge. The key is to get it early, and then it can be just a little blip on your radar. You can go to 5 sessions, and then you can recover and get back into your job. And I think that's the fear, is that you're going to go to counseling and you're never going to be able to get back in that Apache. You're never going to be able to fly again. But the truth is, you go, you seek counseling for whatever it is you're dealing with, then you get right back on the horse and keep going. And so it works. I was having recurrent nightmares, constant flashbacks every 3 seconds, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, thinking really negative thoughts, and I'm not doing that anymore. Like, those things stopped, and I'm living a productive and happy life, a joyous life. Happy's not it's kind of a flip word, but because I sought care, and I've seen it work in soldiers, I've seen it work in other civilians. I mean, we've got proof here.
For me, it has been a good release to know that I have a plan in effect, to where if something happens, I've got a whole outline of what to do and what not to do for me. I'd also just like to say that as bad and as dark and as terrible as it was in going through what I had gone through and going through, it's been kind of a blessing too, because it's helped me refocus my life, as I told Doug earlier, and it's helped me to be able to look at and see what is important in life.
Not only am I just a resource, but everyone in this room and everyone out there is a resource. It has the potential, has the ability to save a life. Because every day we're learning. Every day we're learning a little bit more and more of how to take care of one another. How to save lives. How to help another save their life. If these classes should be filled up, then every one of you would be able to be giving testimonies about how many lives you're saving. And I can tell you, since I've taken these classes, I've not lost a soldier on my ship. And I take pride in saying that. It takes time to help someone stay alive, but it's time worth spending.
Thank you. I appreciate you having the courage to share that.
So we have a pretty interesting contrast at this point where Rebecca is a suicide survivor and learning to live life without her husband and going through the stigmatization of what's being placed on her by the outside world, and sometimes the self-stigmatization that we put on ourselves. You know, what could have I done differently? What did I miss? Why didn't I try to help? Was it just one word, something additional that I could have said that very day? I wish I didn't sleep so hard through the night. Why didn't I hear him wake up? Why wasn't I able to successfully see these signs, even though he was feeling the symptoms and what Rebecca has to relive on a day-to-day basis? And then we have the other contrast where we have Jesus at the point where it was a failed attempt. And thankfully, it was a failed attempt. So as a chaplain and as a caregiver, I'm on the side of working with survivors, those who have gone through a failed attempt, as well as those who are contemplating suicide, which was quite a bit while we were deployed. Sometimes wondering if I was ever going to see this soldier again the very next day. The beautiful thing about the chaplain corps is it's confidential. And sometimes that's also a drawback, because we want to do so much. We want to help as much as we can, but we have to honor that confidentiality. So when a soldier's coming to us and they have a plan or they're contemplating, and we have to work with them, and they don't want to go get help, but you're the only place they feel comfortable coming to, that's a start. That's a place where they're asking for help. And that's where I and other chaplains, as you too, can be that caregiver to begin working with the individual. The work that I do as a chaplain and the work I do with TAPS, extremely rewarding, but it's the most difficult work in the world, because I do get the call from a suicide survivor where I'm their last phone call. And that's the most helpless place we can be, when they have you on the phone and they're letting you know that I've already got the plan. After the call's over, this is what I'm going to do. I've saved up enough money for you, chaplain. I'm going to fly you up here so that you can care for my family. And we're the last person on the front line. And what can we do to help them get to the point to stay on the line so help can get their way? We don't always have the answers, because we can handcuff somebody to a doctor. We can handcuff them to a bedpost. But if they're going to make that decision to take their own life, they're going to tell you exactly what you need to hear to make you think that they're okay. And the next day, we're probably not sure if we're going to see them again. But the fact that the people will actually make that call, they will knock on the door and they will seek you out, that is that cry for help. That is that last cry for help, to where they are looking for you to intervene in their life and help them get through this darkness. Because the thing about depression is we don't think clearly. Things just aren't right in our life. It distorts our view of reality. And I know the depression side, because I went through a severe case with depression. And statistically, you're all right. You're correct, Major Tyson. in this room, there are some of us in this room who are struggling with depression. Some of us who have dipped in and out of depression at one time or another. We're human. We're human beings, and that's just a part of the things that we're going to experience. But when we are overwhelmed psychologically, when we are overwhelmed physically, the stress that does to our body is going to create a chemical imbalance in our brain, and it's going to throw us off kilter. It's like a sailboat that is not upright. And sometimes medication is okay to get us up on an even keel so that we can begin to think clearly. But without proper medication, without proper intervention, the person who is severely depressed is not thinking clearly. We don't like the pain. We want to live, but we don't want to live with the pain. And sometimes you'll find that those in a depressed state, that's why they enjoy sleeping so much. That's as close as we can get to death and still live. And hopefully tomorrow is going to be a better day. But help us out there. Be involved in their life. You don't have to be an expert, but if at least you can see the signs, you know enough to carry them or to ask the right questions to get them to the help they need.
And finally, I'd like everybody to pull out their phone right now. So I'd like you to put this number in your phone. It's 1-800-273-8255 or 1-800-273-TALK. That's the military crisis line or the National Suicide Hotline. 1-800-273-TALK. And you press 1 for veterans, and you'll be connected to a live person. Or if you're not a veteran, or if you're not calling about a veteran or a soldier, then you can just stay on the line, and it'll connect you to a civilian crisis center in your area. GiveAnHour.org. And I'd like you to memorize that or write it down as well. Give an Hour. It's a network of counselors, alternative care providers, things like that, all around the United States, where the counselor has agreed to give at least 1 hour a week for free to a veteran, a family member, somebody affected by military service in some way for up to a year. And a lot of them do more hours or more clients or more years. So that's something, especially in this area, we're very densely saturated with counselors. So that's free, it's confidential, and it's clinical. I'd like you to have those tools in your pocket for, if you don't need them right now for yourself, that's awesome. You might need them in the future. And somebody that you come across may need them as well.
However you're affected by military loss, you can always call TAPS, 800-959-TAPS. And we have a website, taps.org, and we are a 24/7. We're not a crisis center, but we will talk to you, we'll help you get counseling or support groups, or just talk through whatever it is you're dealing with relating to a military death.